Creating visibility states. To create the 4 different blocks that we want to show, the gate valve, the regulating valve, the check valve, and the butterfly valve, we need to create visibility states. So first we're going to go into our block editor. We're going to check the valve block. Now we open the valve block in the block editor. And we're going to go up to visibility states. And so when you click on the visibility states, we get a dialog box over here. And we're going to say we're going to go with a new state. And the first state we're going to do is we're going to call it a gate valve. And you can hide all the existing objects for the new states, or we can show all of them, or we can leave the visibility of existing objects unchanged in the new state. And I'm going to say we'll leave it with that and say OK. And now what we need to do is we have this gate valve, and I want to say OK. Now what we really want to do is control the visibility of this. So what we need to do is come over here to the visibility mode and make visible. And so we want to go here and say, we want to make that visible, and we want to make this visible, and we want to make this visible, and we want to make this visible. However, these two here we're going to make as invisible, and we're also going to take this and make that invisible. And we've just created one visibility state for our gate valve. And I can close the block editor and save changes, and now we end up with one block. So when I click on this thing and say I want a gate valve, I get one example of the gate valve. Now let's go and finish this thing, and we're going to go up to the block editor. We're going to choose the valve, and now we're going to go up to our visibility states, and we're going to create another new valve. We're going to call this the regulating valve, and we'll walk through the steps. Regulating valve, and I'll say OK, and I'll say OK. And now I want to go and show which ones I want to show, and for that it's the bow tie and the dot in the middle. So I say the visible, I select all of these things, and I say enter, and then I go up and do the invisible, which is going to be this part here. And I can close the editor now, save changes, and now when I pick on the block, I hit the down arrow, I get 2 types of blocks I can show: a gate valve and a regulating valve. We have a couple more to do. We'll quickly go through that and do the block editor, then we'll do the valve, and I'm going to create a visibility state. I'm going to create a new one. I'll do a check valve, and I'll say OK. I'll close, and now I'm going to make the visibles for the check valve, and the check valve is going to be the 2 sides, and it's going to be a diagonal, and it'll also be the top portion. And we're going to make invisible the diagonal and the donut. And I'm going to close the block editor, save it, and now I can come over and notice I have a 3rd visibility state. There's my check valve. Okay, and one more time we're going to go up block editor, valve, OK. We're going to create a visibility state, create a new one. We'll call this one butterfly. Butterfly valve, and I'll say OK. And also I'm going to go over here and I'm going to delete this visibility state 0. We don't really want that 0 in there, that's confusing, so we'll get rid of that. We can also move these around I can highlight these things and I can move them up or down to which ways I want them to show up in the list. But this is fine for me, and I'll say OK. And I'll the butterfly valve is the current one, meaning it's the one chosen when you insert the valve. So I'm going to go and make visible, and in this case I want the two sides pieces, and I want diagonal, and I want the round circle. I'm going to say OK. I'm going to make invisible the diagonal and the upper parts here. And I'm going to close, save changes. So now, when I click on the block, I can go to the butterfly valve. And I can click on it, and I can go to check valve, and I can click on it and go to regulating valve, I can click on it and go to the gate valve. So now when I go to insert a block, I'll say I want to go to valve, and I pick. I can now go and say, really, I want the butterfly valve. And I can insert, and I can pick on it, and I can say, you know, I want the check valve. And I can insert the valve, and which one don't we have? We don't have the regulating valve, so put that one in. We pick on it, pick the down arrow, the visibility state, and go to the regulating valve. And now we have 4 visibility states in our block.